Hey guys, I'm Beth, this is Remark, and today we are doing an August Booktube reading wrap-up. Hey guys, so you may notice we're switching it up a little bit today. Actually, I've been doing some experimenting the last few months, just kind of seeing what sticks, what doesn't, what I like. So this is just another chapter in that experimentation. So let me know in the comments your thoughts. So today we're going to do an August reading wrap-up. The first book I read in August was A Simple Favor by Darcy Bell. I actually did a Booktube video on this one because it just fascinated me so much. So it centers around these two women, Stephanie and Emily, who are friends but couldn't be more opposite from each other. Then Emily goes missing. And so what follows is this long, intriguing, twisty tale of intrigue, double crosses, trying to figure out what exactly happened to Emily. And then in the course of that, we kind of find out that Stephanie has made some really bad decisions in her past. I don't want to give it away because it would spoil it, but boy oh boy are her decisions bad. They're just bad. It is being made into a movie soon with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, and I hope that they leave those WTF things in the movie, because I think that's really what makes the book what it is just seeing how messed up Stephanie is. Y'all, it's hot out here. I hope that I am not glistening sweat. Oh, thank God, blessed wind. The next book I read was The Family Next Door by Sally Hepworth. This was kind of a domestic fiction book. It follows these three women, their families, husbands, children, their different lives that they have. And then there's an outsider who moves into this family neighborhood. And so all the women are thinking, who's this woman and what is she doing here? You know, there's this sort of imposter syndrome thing going on. Now, the thing that really fascinates me with domestic fiction is just seeing how people live. I want to know the day-to-day minutiae of these different cultures. So you see it in modern authors today, such as Leanne Moriarty, Sally Hepworth, or you see it in some of the books of yesteryear, like Louisa May Alcott, Jane Austen, Virginia Woolf. It's just, I think that's really a big thing that domestic fiction offers, is just an inside look at society, at families, and just the different ways that people work. Now, having said all of that, I wouldn't say that The Family Next Door is necessarily the most groundbreaking of domestic fiction books, but it is still an interesting one. The next book that I read was The Book of Essie by Megan McLean Weir, and it is so good. It's so interesting. It centers around a 17-year-old girl named Essie who comes from a family who's very religious, pious, conservative, and then it turns out that Essie is pregnant. Now, this family happens to be on a long-running reality TV show. So when Essie turns up pregnant, it's not really a question of what are we going to do about Essie. It's more a question of how are we going to spin this for the show. So it's more a conversation between the mom and the producer of, do we make this pregnancy look like it's the mom's baby? Do we send Essie away for a little bit and have her give up the baby for adoption, then we never have to think about the baby again? You know, there's this whole long line of questions that they're trying to figure out, not considering Essie's feelings or even how she got pregnant, who made her that way. There's so much more to Essie than you think. There's so much more to her, and it made me think a lot about reality TV. In fact, I did a Booktube video about this book and our obsession with reality TV. It's odd because we know how the sausage is made. We know that these stories are fake. We know that they're heavily produced. And we see that a lot in the Book of Essie, and still we watch. Still I watch. Oh my God, did you see that? There's a really big bee that's hovering. Please don't think it's a bee. It's scaring the crap out of me. The next book I read was Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. The main thing he talks about that really got to me was this feeling of not belonging in a place or a space. And you see it throughout history where African American people are ejected from spaces, whether it's through gentrification, whether it's through segregation, whether it's through not being allowed to sit down at a Starbucks. It's just eye-opening. You know, I am not African American, and so obviously, I know I've said this in my previous videos, I can never fully understand the African American experience, nor is it my place to, and nor is it Ta-Nehisi Coates' place to be the black explainer of things to all white people. I mean, that's not the role at all. But as a person who wants to be an ally and wants to, just wrap the entire world up in my arms. I appreciated seeing his point of view and getting to learn that. All right, guys, there's something in the water. There's something in the water and it's fishy. Get it? Ayo, fishy. I'm sorry, I know I'm not that funny. The next book I read was Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman. There's a woman who's a documentary filmmaker. She's engaged to a man who's a high-powered banker who gets fired from his job. And so as soon as he gets fired, we kind of see lies rolling out one after the other, and we think there's something going on with this guy. They get married anyway, they go on their honeymoon, and then one afternoon, after a lazy day of snorkeling, they come across a mystery bag in the water. What's in the bag? Rich stuff. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is. Well, part of it's money, but I'm not going to tell you what else it is. But it's a lot of rich stuff. But really what we could say is in the bag is bad decisions. Bad decisions, because as soon as they open up, it's like a veritable Pandora's box. It's like the bag opens and all these good intentions just go whoop, right out the window. And it's so much fun. I don't expect my thrillers to always be true to life. I don't have to look at it and say, this is exactly what would happen in the real world. Nah, it's okay. I can suspend disbelief a little bit. And this was one of those books where it was really fun to suspend disbelief. The next book I read was Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. I don't know why I always feel the need to pantomime giving you my hand when I say that title, but there you go. In Give Me Your Hand, it follows Kit, a lady scientist. She's reminiscing about the times that she was a teenage girl when she was friends with a girl named Diane. And then something happens. Something happens that kind of makes the story go right down the rails. Now, it comes around in the end, but it's just such an extreme something that happens. And then the decisions that happen in reaction to that I'm like, what? Now, when I think about Megan Abbott's earlier works, she started out in noir with books such as Queen Pin and Die a Little. It makes me appreciate the figure of Diane in Give Me Your Hand a little bit more. I think of her kind of as a femme fatale, this woman who's beautiful, deadly, who always keeps her intentions to herself, and you never quite know what she's thinking. You never know if she's for you or against you until the very, very end. Go check out my Booktube video on this book so that you can see even more of my thoughts about it. The next book I read was The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I love Ruth Ware also. This was a big month of fandom for me. Ruth Ware, the first book of hers I read was, of course, her debut novel, In a Dark, Dark Wood, which to me is just kind of the vanguard, of books. It's just so good. I believe that The Death of Mrs. Westaway is probably her most Agatha Christie-like type of book. Now, this isn't a new comparison that's being made. She's been compared to Agatha Christie from the very beginning, but I believe that this one is especially much in that vein. When you think about Murder on the Orient Express by Christie, this is a book where this group of oddball, quirky characters are stuck together on a train, and one of them is a murderer, and so you're trying to figure out who it is. We have kind of the same situation in The Death of Mrs. Westaway. It starts out with a young girl named Hal who is broke. She is brizoke. When she finds out that she is the possible beneficiary of an inheritance, she knows almost immediately that it's got to be a mistake. But she goes to the estate anyway, thinking, you know what, I'll just check it out. So, interesting book, The Death of Mrs. Westaway. Definitely one to read. Definitely a good addition to the Ruth Ware oeuvre. The final book that I read this month was You Think It, I'll Say It by Curtis Sittenfeld. Now, the interesting thing about this collection is that it's not really plot-driven at all. I don't know if I would even call it a character study. I would call it more of the innermost thoughts of the characters. These are the things that we don't say to anyone, the things we keep completely to ourselves. For example, there's one story, in fact, the title story, You Think It, I'll Say It, in which a woman is casual acquaintances with another parent in the neighborhood group, and they start this little casual game called You Think It, I'll Say It. And to her, it becomes this very deep intimacy between the two of them. To him, it's just a casual game. And she is inwardly crushed, because here she thought that she had made a real connection in this group, that there were no real no real connections. The stories kind of follow in that vein. You know, you never really know what's going inside of people, inside of me, inside of you, inside of all the people around us. There are these interior monologues that happen. Can you hear the cicadas? Hopefully they're not completely drowning me out. You might notice I'm itching my arms a lot. That's because the mosquitoes are a-biting. So it's an interesting collection in the fact that it happens entirely inside these people. Outsiders would probably know nothing about nothing. They wouldn't know anything is going on. But we know. Alright guys, that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you on the flippity flop. Bye. Thanks. Oh dear Lord, that's a huge bee. Oh God, please don't eat me. Stay away.